Well, if you talk to any man, they can be kind of particular about the colors they wear, but when it comes to the color pink, well, that's a controversial color. Councilmember Andy King is involved in a very special cause. It's called breast cancer awareness. He now joins us to tell us more about why real men wear pink. And we welcome him now to the show, and he is pink all the way. We're going to get the full shot later on, man, but good to have you.
Same here, my brother. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And as we're talking, listen, obviously, you're not just wearing pink just because. Obviously, it's in support of breast cancer, and you guys are going full measure in terms of raising awareness about breast cancer and bringing men to the table.
Exactly, exactly. When it comes to breast cancer, you know, people forget that men have breasts as well. You know, come October, we will be celebrating and recognizing and marching and walking against breast cancer for women. But today was our kickoff on Real Men Wear Pink. And why? You know, when we talk about supporting our sisters, our mothers, our aunts, our grandmothers, this is just a cause that the color pink has been designated for those who have been suffering from breast cancer. Over the coming years, we're looking at about 2,600 men have been diagnosed in the last year with breast cancer. So to bring awareness to it, you know, we're joining in the cause, we're joining in the fight, we're telling men out there it's okay if you get sick. There's resources, there's people there who care about you, and we're going to look to raise funds. A number of us today who kicked off this campaign, putting together a little challenge, see who can raise the most money, you know, to say how do we bring more awareness to men having breast cancer, let alone our women having breast cancer, but how do we fund research to eradicate this horrible disease.
Talk to us about the buy-in, because you talk to a lot of men. How many men have you got partnered with you so far?
Right, so there was about 8 of us sitting at the table today, inspired businessmen, other community activists, and myself. We were there sitting there with a host of, I would say maybe about 400 women, cancer survivors, 1 or 2 men who are cancer survivors themselves, and you know, we just applaud their effort and their energy to believe, to know that this is a disease which is hurtful, has an impact on your whole household, but you can live with it. You know, we know over the years that there's been about 200 million women, 2.5 million women who have survived breast cancer or live in it, as well as we do know there are millions who have passed away from this disease. But this is something that can be lived with, you can manage it, and you can continue to live normal lives. And that's what we want to make sure that we raise funding to make sure that we have the constant awareness with any cure that we can come to eradicate this disease.
And when you talk about cancer survivors, obviously the stories had to be impactful for you in terms of pushing you to say, listen, let's do this. What was it that you heard that really resonated with you?
Well, you know, for me it resonated when I got the call, but more importantly, I lived it. My sister-in-law passed away from cancer. So it you know, it had a real human component to it. You know, a lot of times you look at people getting ill, whatever the disease is, if it never walks into your door, you know, it's that other person that gets it. But when it's in your house and you get to watch that person who was jumping up around and vibrant and doing things, you watch them slowly just deteriorate and wither away. It's an everlasting effect. And, you know, I have a daughter that's 28 years old today, and her mother has just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So again, you know, it's hitting home. So it didn't take much for anyone to say to me, do we have to convince people? No, we should never have to convince people to do the right thing when people need help. And I say that to any and everybody out there.
So when you talk about this campaign, people want to be a part, what do they do?
Well, if they want to be a part, they can reach out to the American Cancer Society. We have a branch that's working out of the Bronx. Lizette Dorado is heading it up. So there's a whole host of information of how people can get involved. You're going to look out for me on work I'm doing on social media. If you want to contact me through social media, you can hit me on Facebook, Andy King Facebook, or Councilmember Andy King on Facebook, or at Twitter at Andy King NYC, and look out for the information that we're going to be posting up. So we want people to be involved, be engaged, and I will say this, as far as the fundraising, I'm urging everybody who was out there on the 18th, next Thursday, part of my fundraising at the Barber Factory, we're doing barb haircuts. Men will be in pink, smocks, everything. We're jazzing up the barbershop in pink. It's a Thursday, so before you get ready to go out Friday night or Saturday for the weekend, come on to the Barber Factory located on Laconia Avenue, 229th Street. Come get your hair cut there. All those proceeds will be going to help breast cancer and Cancer Awareness Month.
Talk to us about the district. Obviously a lot going on in the district this summer.
Oh yeah, we've been full of fun, to say the least. Just recently we had our 3rd Community Engagement Day, and we did our first ever parade where we offered resources and services to residents of the 12th District and the entire North Bronx. But the parade was spectacular, with hundreds coming out to march down Gun Hill Road as we entered into the field of Gun Hill Road, jamming out to We Are Family, and then entering where we had a concert laid out with the great Donnie McClurkin, who delivered gospel as way gospel is supposed to be delivered. So we're doing a lot, you know. We continue to have our Nature Nights going out into the community and let people know what we've done. In Co-op City, I sponsor concerts every Tuesday and Wednesday. Tunes on Tuesday, 7 o'clock in the Greenway, and in Section 5 Greenway on Wicked, we call Wicked Wednesday. We get artists from different genres to come up and perform. So we having people to enjoy this this summer. And coming, you know, school will be out soon. I mean, we're coming back to school, so we're excited. You know, as the chair of the libraries in the New York City Council, I started a campaign, Reading is Cool. You know, not your pants sagging and not the girls running around cussing all over the place, but reading is cool. So we're going to be having our Back to School, Reading to School kickoff on September 16th on the Evander Childs football field. So we're asking everybody to be a part, and we'll continue to serve the district. With
the new mall up there in Co-op City and Bay Plaza, a lot of concerns about traffic and things like that. We've been talking about that for a minute. How are things going? Any improvements?
It's been improvement. We've done some cutouts with where the bus, because they had a bus when you came right into, so we've made some adjustments there. They're still going to take a minute before, as we're still trying to figure out how to build out onto the Hutchinson River Parkway to offer some relief. But you know, it's a mall. You know, traffic, everyone's adjusted, everyone's adapting. You know, the sky didn't fall down, the world didn't flip upside down. People are working, the economy is strong, neighborhood is feeling good, everyone's loving the mall. I'm excited about it. We continue to build, and they are great partners. Prestige Properties is a great community partner, so we're happy about this.
A lot of excitement in the Co-op City neighborhood, of course, and basketball courts, and then you got summer basketball going on, you've got tournaments happening, you've got the mall, so a lot of good things happening. Councilmember Andy King. Now, before I let you out of here, we had a conversation before. We talked a little bit about, you had a press conference recently about some missing young ladies in the borough of the Bronx. Any status update there?
Well, I'm glad to report from the first one we ever did, 11 of the 14 girls that we shown, 11 of them had returned home. We worked with NYPD to get more information out. Currently, Ashley Bassell, who was a 16-year-old who was out there 2 years in the United States, is still missing. But after we did a second press conference, she was spotted. And then the police were called. We have not been able to catch up with her yet, but that's the most important thing. Once we can unveil, she can't be in the shadows. She could be in a situation she just can't get out of, and that's the bottom line. If, you know, it may be a corny phrase for people, but if you see something, say something. If you see any girls that are out there that have been featured, we need the public to communicate with the local authorities, because at the end of the day, if it was your child, you want somebody to help your child. And if you're having crisis at home, now is the time to get help. Don't be too proud to ask for help, because at the end of the day, the life we save will be our own children and our own families.
So 11 out of the 14 have been come back home. So we still got 3 more that you're.
Well, currently, as the second press conference that I did, there was 987 reports of missing girls. 4% are still missing. 35 cases are still open of missing children in the Bronx. That is too many, and no one's talking about it. And the sad thing is they're children of color, so you know, it's a little scary. I'll never forget back in Georgia during the late 90s, there was this case of there was like about 25 missing black kids were just disappearing off the streets. You know, to find out bodies, parts were being sold, they were being murdered, they were being sold off like that. So I'm not saying this is our case, but when something goes down in our community, we cannot lend a blind eye or ignore the status of things that are happening in our neighborhood. We gotta participate in improving our communities, no matter what part of the Bronx you live in.
Yeah, well, great work in lifting up the fact that these missing young people. We're glad that 11 of the 14 have gotten back home safe.
Yes.
Councilmember Andy King, thanks much.
My pleasure.
All righty. Good to see you.
Real men wear pink.
Real men do wear pink. Yes, it's true. All right, taking a quick break, but when we return, we're going to talk to some Bronx artists who are showcasing their work in the No Commission Art Fair that's happening this weekend. Also, we'll discuss the controversy surrounding it. But first, we take a look at the community, elected officials, and the police that are coming together to say no to violence.